matter how it ends, it matters how you stand. This is Lavoy Finicum. One Cowboy stands for freedom. See you later.
All right, folks, welcome to People's Rights in the Park, Victory Park, Pasadena. We are gathered here today to discuss protecting and defending our rights because, unfortunately, the authorities are just not doing that, are they? So what People's Rights is all about is we claim our rights, we use our rights, and then most importantly, we defend our rights for each other, because the people that we hired, our government, the people we hired to protect our rights are just not doing that. They've got the demeanor that they are masters instead of servants. They treat us like we're their property in a lot of cases, and that's all wrong. The government is supposed to be here for us and to serve us and to follow our orders, not the other way around. A lot of people forget that. But our government is here to serve us and protect our rights. That's why the Constitution was written. The Constitution is not a set of rules for us to follow. It is a set of restraints on the government. It is a set of rules that they cannot break. So if you look at all the amendments, they're written from that standpoint. So the right to free speech, that's not written for us, to warn us about infringing on free speech. That's there to warn the government not to infringe on our free speech. Okay? That's why it's there. So over the last 3.5 years, our rights have been violated in the most egregious ways possible. They've used coercion and just downright threats and fear to get everybody lined up to take their injections of this poison that they're spreading to everyone. And you know, a lot of people have had their lives ruined by this tyranny, and that's what it is. It's tyranny. And so we formed this group, and now we're nationwide. We're approaching 70,000 members nationwide, all over the United States. This is California Area 10 that you're in right here. And we have approximately 650 members here in Southern California area. Before we get into our meeting today, though, I do want to ask if you wouldn't mind, Kate. Kate is new to our meeting, and Kate, can you let us know how you've heard about People's Rights?
Sure. I went to a meeting in Santa Monica. That's where I met Ed, and he just invited me to this meeting. I wasn't really sure what it was about.
Okay. Well, welcome, Kate. Thanks. Kate heard about us from a meeting she went to in Santa Monica. So thanks, Ed, for inviting Kate. Yeah, it's great to have you here. So on to today's topic. Today we have a very serious topic. I don't know if all of us are familiar with what went down on January 6th with the coup of our government, where Joe Biden and the Democrats claimed they won the election. But not only that, they claimed that all the people that were in Washington, D.C. to protest the theft of the election were domestic terrorists. And they've arrested a lot of people, and they filed charges against a lot of people. And one of those people is our friend Edward Badalian. And Edward has been persecuted under this fraud for quite a while now, since January 6th. And Edward, unfortunately, is not feeling well today, but Kaylyn is here to speak on his behalf. And what I'd like to do is invite Kaylyn up to the microphone to give us a little background on what happened to Edward and how we as a group can help his situation. And I do want to ask if anyone is able to. Edward is in dire need of funding for his legal defense. So if you can donate, please give your donations to Jane and she'll collect them, and then we'll pass them on to Edward. So anyway, without further ado, Kaylyn, come on up. Thanks.
Did not prepare for this quite at all. Literally thought he was coming minutes before I left. I'm super late as well. I will give you from the rundown from the beginning. Edward had participated in rallies in 2020, getting ready for the election, going to the Beverly Hills rallies, many other functions in Huntington Beach, made lots of friends, had unfortunate run-ins with our anti-protesters, which we call Antifa, and if I'm honest, I think it left him a little bit scarred. There was a incident on it was Halloween 2020, and he ended up getting beat by 8 Antifa members. Really didn't have a chance, to really fight on his own against that many people. Was hit in the head with a pipe, was bleeding, had a concussion, had, passed out in his kitchen later from said concussion. So just a little backstory, because going into January 6th, he and his friends were kind of preparing for the worst, with knowing that those anti-protesters would be there, absolutely. So, they're going to bring things that will protect themselves, which is going to obviously look bad to the court, to the judge, to have really anything. We're fighting for his intent right now. The sentencing date is September 8th. As of now, they keep jerking us around. I literally go in loops of, I don't know, I'll say depression. This is having gone through this. You get told, okay, it's July 5th, get ready. And you're just like, okay, we're almost there, and then they say, okay, 20 more days, and then you start your countdown all over again. I'm not gonna cry. I might cry, but it's hard to talk about. He'll say like, oh my gosh, you do this at like every event, even if I'm just like talking about things at our rallies, I just get really passionate about what's going on and how effed up it is, honestly. So right now they have an ankle monitor on him still. He's had that since, months and months and months. He's so fed up with it. It's like constantly wearing and tearing, and I'm getting off subject, but either way, the day of January 6th, he goes in a little bit concerned that he's going to have to deal with these anti-protesters. So, him and a group of friends, to my knowledge, I was invited on this trip. I rented the van that they all went in. I would not have rented a van for people who had any ill intent. I wasn't trying to screw up my life or not be in contact with my family that's all the way in Pittsburgh. I trusted him, and the worst thing that I thought would happen is that he would wreck the car, or somebody else would drive and wreck the car. They took some stuff with them, some pepper spray, some, I'm sure some people had, like a bat or something like that. Nothing crazy. And they actually didn't end up taking any of that stuff with them, so that none of that was at the protest. They show up, they see Trump speak. He's right there. He's actually not with anyone at this point. He is separated. One of the biggest things about this case is that they won't sever it from a co-defendant that we have. and that, this guy, he ended up getting 12 years. So, I'm not really sure what that means for Edward, but in court they've been saying without Edward Badalian, there would be no DJ Rodriguez. Well, DJ Rodriguez tased a cop in the neck, and we did not stand for anything like that. We didn't think that he did either, but he got in the car to leave the trip and didn't inform us on his crime, or lessened it and said he had maybe tased a cop in the knuckles, or and Edward didn't really think that anything was going to come of that. And then when we did find out that something was going on, it was days later that we had gotten raided by the FBI at the end of March 2021, and so they got DJ at that point. They did have us confined in his apartment building, and we were all cuffed. It was me, his mother, himself, not all completely dressed in kind of cold weather, not really treated that well by the 15 SWAT members that made it into the apartment complex, woke all of our neighbors. And there's some relationships that have suffered from all of this. His mother obviously is having to endure quite a lot and had no idea where this was coming from. I'm just trying to give you a personal standpoint. Maybe I don't have as much to speak on J6 itself, but I do obviously believe that we need to fight for our rights, and by fighting for Edward and his rights, I think we're just fighting for all of our rights, really. And in this case means a lot for that. So the 8th, we will find out. They're gonna hash out how much time he gets. If he gets time, that would be ideal, but I'm pretty sure that he's gonna end up serving some time. I hope to God not. But we need to just keep putting our story out there, talking to others and making sure that they're aware of this, how wrong this all was. So I can maybe take questions, or maybe I missed something in the story.
Does he live in Southern California?
He does live in Van Nuys, California. Yep, his mother owns a home there. He lives with family. Yeah.
So he traveled all the way to DC.
He traveled all the way to DC with a group of people from the Beverly Hills rallies, and I just saw it as they were just having a last hurrah, going end the summer from all their rallying, spend time together and say this is that, and also we can't lie, it's to stop the steal. We wanted to be there to stop the steal. So he's honest in the court, and does say things like, yes, what I meant by arrest all traitors is, no, I'm not going to personally go and arrest traitors. I'm going to work hand in hand. What is it called? Posse comitatus or something. Right. Yeah, so just work hand in hand with the police and be able to arrest people like Nancy Pelosi and the other corrupt individuals in our government. So yeah, he's very honest about that, and the judge is harsh. We thought she was on our side for a moment, and then when he got the verdict, he was it just sounded like it was repeated from somebody that maybe talked in her ear. It just seemed like she was saying something that they wanted her to say, in a way, because she was kind of fighting for us, to be honest, and kind of going against the prosecution at one point. So
I have a question.
yeah.
Isn't it actually an appealable issue that if they won't sever the case?
Well, we are appealing. So, they did give him 2 felonies and a misdemeanor. So he got conspiracy, which is absurd, and we're absolutely appealing that. Obstruction of an official court proceeding, and then, tagged along with the misdemeanor of trespassing. So,
Well, he wasn't inside the building.
he was inside the building, yeah. So alongside the story that I spoke on Antifa, there was a woman at the window where he was standing outside the Capitol, and she had said, Antifa's inside, and he's a call to action guy. He's gonna, kind of make sure that they're not doing anything wrong or whatever. And also there was like smoke bombs going on outside, and I didn't get to go, but I've heard this story a million times, and I know this man, and it's not in his heart to do something like that, and he loves his country. As I even say, like, you seem more proud, you're like an Armenian man, but you're just such a proud American.
So has he been in jail at all during this time?
Just the one day that he had to be in there all day and go through he's out on bail. So then we're hoping he can continue to make the appeal out on bail. But, they could very well just take him in D.C. whenever he goes on the 8th.
So, okay, Ash, you have a question.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people out there who would just say, CNN and the other news networks painted it to be that everyone's guilty. Everyone who went to J6, it was an insurrection, it was a violent attack, there was crimes on the street. You know where I'm going with that, and obviously that's not true. So I wasn't there, but I've heard beautiful stories of people just making new friends and connections, but tell us your first-hand account of what happened. How did it go? Like, just paint a picture of how it really was.
Oh.
Yeah. So Ash asked if you could just paint a picture of what actually happened, as opposed to the media narrative.
If you went into how did it all happen?
I totally wish that I could give you the first-hand experience, but as I said, I personally rented the van, sent 9 people across the country, which they tried to charge me with conspiracy for, and thought that I was kind of some ringleader. And I'm like, no, I take care of 2 kids on the spectrum, and took care of my grandma with Alzheimer's, and I think they were like, oh, okay, you're not really part of this, I don't think. But he had given a description, and I mean, I could kind of speak on that, but I know that they were told to march to the Capitol to go protest peacefully. Trump had sent them, or they all went marching. There was like a first wave, I think, that had shown up that, had already pre-anticipated that there would be chaos, and they were there and ready. And then there was the group that kind of just all traveled together peacefully and kind of showed up to see what was going on, and that there was chaos, and it was almost like you couldn't get backwards. You can't go back where you came from with hundreds and 100,000 people or so. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the pictures are insane, but I wish that I saw that in person, because it would probably be breathtaking to see how many people showed up for the country. But I don't know if I answered enough. But
I have a question myself. Can you just give me your impression of why people showed up in the first place on January the 6th? Why, in your opinion, why was Edward there? What was it all about? Can you just answer that?
Yeah, I mean, to peacefully protest, but to be loud enough to let our words even be heard. They're kind of attacking him for supporting a peaceful protest. One of the things in the that the court is saying is that he was in a video saying heave ho, and he's up on the balcony, and the people are below, and they're against the officers, a line of officers, and so they're trying to say that's ill intent, that he's trying to fight the government, fight our police. I said, but people were being way more violent before that. So if it was on video, you can see he's supporting that they have pulled it back and that they are doing it properly. He's been trained. He's went to Libertarians of America within college, and has been trained to protest. So I mean, that's the angle that they're not understanding, but or wanting to believe.
So let me just ask you a series of questions here. Did Edward start any fires like Antifa?
No, Edward's never wanted. He doesn't have anything on his record at all. He has come so at the function, thank you for asking the question because I probably did get derailed. So his actions at the Capitol, when he did show up after making it up to as I said, they were all marching up. They made it up. He had to walk up a staircase, and it really wasn't stairs at that point. Like, it was a railing that was thick enough that he had been able to pass a group of people, and then got up there and was trying to tell people, go back, like there's nowhere to go. Like, at that point, I guess maybe the guards were saying you cannot enter, but before that they were waving people in, as we saw on video. They were not stopping anyone from going anywhere, and then let it become chaos up there. And then so he's up there telling people, go back, we don't have anywhere to go. And then he had noticed there are people on the window breaking the window of the Capitol. So he was able to, and is on video as well, go up, pull the window breaker down, and another few patriots were able to pull him out of the crowd, but was being beat at the same time by his buddies that were right there, and that's also shown. So I'll give you guys some links so you can check all those out.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight, Kaylyn. Edward actually tried to stop people from damaging the Capitol building. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. So and then after he entered the Capitol as well, he had turned over furniture that was, broken. There was some anti-protesting individuals inside that had broke the furniture for legs, for weapons, for just to destroy it. And then he was, flipping things back over and, trying to correct those things as well. I mean, we can schmooze Edward and his character, all we want, but I know, his intent was not to take over the government. It was to expose the government. So that was pretty much.
Yeah. Can I ask some more questions?
So, sure. John?
Yeah.
Here. Come on up.
Well, when you're
Sorry.
talking about words and descriptions,
Yeah.
you're saying that he was there for peaceful protest.
Yes.
But my understanding of a peaceful protest, according to the news media, is starting fires and hurting people and arguing and breaking things.
Right.
So when you say he's there for a peaceful protest, that is the image that's in most people's minds, I think. So I guess I'm suggesting that you be real careful with the word peaceful, because that's not a term that most people have in their mind right now, because they've been conditioned to think of Antifa as a peaceful protest. Every news show that you go back, when they're out there burning the place down and fighting and shooting people, they're saying, well, it's a peaceful protest.
Yeah, I mean, they're letting, people go who have done way worse things. Our friend Johnny was stabbed at City Hall, and then that guy, he's completely off at this point. So we're encouraging him to obviously reach out to his lawyer and keep going with that and pursue that. I guess just continuing to re-educate our, not our foes, but our other members of America who aren't on our side, who don't see things the way that we see things, continuing to recondition the way that they're thinking. And peaceful protest, it should mean, being out there speaking, how it is that we feel, educating our public. And it's become fires and bricks, and I understand, but that's not the way that we work on our side. That's just how they're handling things on their side, and it should show.
If they're able to do this to Edward, if they're able to do this to Edward in a peaceful protest, what's to stop them from just grabbing any of us and saying that we're being peaceful and we're just walking around the park, and yet we're being charged with insurrection?
No, but that's why it's so important that we just continue to fight for our rights, because they can do that. They will do that. I mean, I don't want to be bleak, but the future is kind of, there. And so us making action, not just kind of speaking, I know I said peaceful protest is about speaking. I mean, I actually just took a leadership institute class. It was 8 hours, and it was very thorough, and it was wonderful. And it was just teaching us how to organize and mobilize and not just, speak, but also act. And it's really important that we show up to these things and all the other things. I'm getting dry, sorry.
Yeah, so how much court time have you had in front of the judge? Because I've got some other questions if you had some already, or has it just been formalities?
No, we've been in court. I went the last time and had to testify.
Okay.
They kept us there for like a week, over a week.
Okay, so my questions are, first of all, we get there's some notable contradictions to what CNN and all these news networks are saying. Like, when you see footage of people inside the Capitol, they're just walking around like tourists, taking snapshots. Obviously, they're not breaking stuff and being violent. There's that. And also, it's come out that, FBI had a big hand in it. So, is this allowed to be admissible evidence? Have you talked to your lawyer about that? Or does the judge dismiss it, or has it not come up yet?
I think that's, just out of grasp and almost like a little bit big for our britches, like to really go up against the government, but he's ready to at least sue the city. He's ready to, obviously this has taken a toll on us and this whole thing over the last couple of years. Yes, we want to keep fighting and go against the government, but it's a bit scary. They say that you just won't win, but we'll just work until our pockets are empty and do what we can to fight against it.
Well, Kaylyn, the People's Rights Network is here for you and for Edward, because what's going on here is an egregious violation of your rights. Edward and you and your whole family and everybody else in January 6th that's being prosecuted and persecuted by these criminals that stole the presidential election are being subjected to a campaign of terror. That's what's going on. The people that are running the January 6th committee and the people that are doing all of this to Edward are not Americans. They're not following American law. They're not respecting anything to do with the truth. They're not even in the neighborhood of the truth, because Edward was there, in my opinion, and in the opinion of most Americans, for a redress of grievances, because he felt that the election was stolen, which it was. We have plenty of proof that the election was stolen. So they, the people in the government and the January 6th committee, they're pretending that this is debatable. It's not debatable. The election was stolen. It's a fact. Joe Biden shouldn't be the president. So Edward was there to lodge a protest, and it says in the First Amendment to the Constitution, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances, which is what Edward was doing. Edward was following the First Amendment advice. He was petitioning his government for a redress of grievances. And these criminals that are prosecuting you and Edward are just vile, disgusting criminals. They're not following our law. The Constitution is the law of the land. It is the highest law of the land. And Edward, if anything, is a hero to us, okay? Edward is a hero. He was one of the people that actually put himself on the line to go to Washington, D.C. and protest the theft of our presidential election. These people that are doing this, they're part of the coup government. They're a coup. They have taken over power in our government. And that's what Edward was there to protest. And I'm sorry, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And to talk about what's happened to you and to other January 6th defendants, there's people in prison now. I've seen pictures of people that are being held for crimes on January 6th. These are not crimes, okay? Edward did not commit any crimes. He was there attending a protest, okay? So, there's people, I've seen pictures of prisoners for January 6th. They are in a tiny, tiny cell, barely big enough to stand up in, and they've got a pad on the floor, and that's it. And they've been there for how long now?
2 and some years.
No toilet either.
2.5 years. That, my friends, is torture. That is torture. So the coup government is torturing people like Edward, like you, and this is the result. They're destroying people. They're destroying families. They're weaponizing the judicial system against us, against people like Edward, and against Ammon Bundy, our founder. They're weaponizing the justice system because they know we don't have the funding to pay for all these high-priced lawyers that could actually fight this case, okay? They know that. They know that people don't understand the legal system, and they're taking advantage of it anyway. They're not working for us. They're trying to cement their coup. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to create this illusion that Edward did something wrong, which he did not, okay? None of these people that they're prosecuting, with very few exceptions, did anything that could even remotely be called a crime, okay? So this is pure fiction, pure fantasy, and unfortunately, Edward is just caught in the crosshairs of a power struggle in the United States.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. So I would like, just from a personal standpoint, just tell us how you feel about what they're doing. Just tell us that.
I mean, I'm trying to think of descriptive words right now, and I'd say like beaten down and like hopeless, and but you gotta count your blessings. And he spoke on how bad it was for many other people. Edward has been at home with me, so I'm gonna count that as a blessing. But we should nowhere near be going through what we're going through, for sure. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, so
Hug it out, girls. Hug it out.
You guys made me cry. Yeah, so did I detour?
No, not at all. Not
Okay.
at all. Kaylyn, it's brave of you to come here and talk about this, because it's such an egregious assault on your rights. And what people need to realize is that when people like Edward are put through this grinder that they're trying to put him through, and they're using the legal system as a weapon against you, this has consequences far beyond Edward, okay? His whole family has to live it with him. All the January 6th defendants have to live through this with their family members. It destroys families. It wipes people out financially, okay? That's what the legal system is now. It's not about justice. They don't care about justice. They're trying to destroy people financially, and like you just said, they're trying to wear you out so you quit fighting. That's what they're trying to do. That's really what they're trying to do. If there was fairness in the courts, the demeanor would be completely different. Completely different. They would recognize Edward for what he is, just a good American that went there to speak out against something that was wrong. So what I would like to do is, if you could let people know how they can help Edward defend himself, how they can donate to his effort to fund his legal defense. If you could just give us the links or whatever we need to know to help Edward.
Absolutely. I thank you guys all for being here and listening to me. You know, I know as an Edward, he would be way more informative. So, you know, hopefully we'll get him here and speaking with all of you. And, you know, he's been a world of knowledge for me. All I do is listen to the news, and we conversate on all of this constantly. That's just who he is. And I will tell you, any funds are appreciated. Would be givesendgo.com/help free Edward Badalian. Badalian is spelled Badalian. And once again, yeah, anything would be appreciated.
There was mention our previous video.
Yeah, so we will put that link on the video, and we'll hopefully have that posted pretty quick.
I can share my social media, and you know,
Okay.
everything's posted there too.
Okay, so we'll put all the links where you can help Edward on the video, which you can find on the People's Rights website in the newsroom under the Speaker's Archive. Also in the Speaker's Archive in the newsroom of People's Rights, you will find that Edward has come and spoken to us before. So we have that whole speech and whole talk recorded, and it's available for people to see, and you can get it directly from Edward that way. But we will also hopefully have Edward in the future to talk about his case and what's happening. But I would just urge everyone that sees this video, if you can, please help Edward. Please help the other January 6th defendants who shouldn't even be defendants. Okay? There's video. They're political prisoners. That's exactly right. They're political prisoners. The coup government is making them into examples to try to make us afraid to stand up to them. That's what they're trying to do with these prosecutions. So what I would like everyone to do is go to the links that are going to be on this video and below it in the description. We'll put the links to help Edward, and also keep in mind the January 6th defendants, many of which are languishing in these horrible conditions in these gulags that they've established in Washington, D.C. I mean, these are worse than literally than Siberian gulags under Stalin. We have completely sacrificed all our American values. We're violating the provisions against cruel and unusual punishment. And that's what this whole prosecution is of Edward. It's cruel and unusual punishment, and the government are just being bullies, and they're picking on people that they know damn well don't have the money or the resources to fight back. If they did have the money and resources to fight back, I guarantee you this coup government would lose and they'd be in prison. So anyway, Kaylyn, thank you very much for coming and speaking to us. I'm so proud of you that you're standing up and doing this. And I'm proud of Edward too, and you guys are great Americans, and I want you to know that we have your back as best we can.
They haven't beat me down quite. They haven't beat me down quite yet. I haven't gotten as angry as I should be. So they put him away. You'll see.
All right. Well,
The people can help.
yeah. So we're going to put the links up for Edward's Gives and Go campaign. And Ash, you had a question?
Yeah, is it possible to turn up to the court case? Is that possible?
That'll be in DC.
It's
It's
in
open.
DC.
It's open.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, people have come in. We've seen lots of people just come and sit and watch us. All the other cases are so interested, and they come in and they watch. They say, "Oh, I had to sit outside because, of course, I had to testify, so I'm sitting outside for hours and hours and hours." got all dressed up, and they didn't even let me come in that day. I didn't get to testify, and then I had to wait till the next day and wear the same outfit because I only picked, it was court in DC. But yeah, it was, yeah.
So this brings up a question. Who is paying for your travel?
Me.
Okay. See, this is another one of their methods to destroy people. The trial is in Washington, D.C. That's all the way across the country. Okay? So she has to pay for their travel to get there. They don't have to pay anything. They're sitting there anyway. These judges, why didn't they transfer the case to another federal court here in Los Angeles? Why didn't they do that? Because they want to financially destroy people. They're using the court system as a weapon. They're bullies. They're thugs. That's what they are. But I wanted to point out that there is a provision in the Constitution. It's called the Eighth Amendment. And here's what the Eighth Amendment says. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. That's the highest law of the land. I would say they're violating the Eighth Amendment in every possible respect in this case. Okay, so it's the judge, it's the judicial system, it's the people involved in this prosecution that should be being prosecuted. If they were following the law, if they were following the Constitution, that's what would happen. But Kaylyn, thank you.
Thank you.
And if it wouldn't be a problem, I would like a hug too.
Oh yeah, no, careful. Thank you.
So this is a very brave lady here, and I'd like us to do everything that we can to help. So any one of us can say at any time, hey, I've got a lot going on in my life. I've got all these responsibilities. I've got this and that to do. I've got these bills to pay. And any one of us can say that, okay? But only a few of us say, well, I'm going to show up anyway and fight against this. Even though I don't have time, even though it's difficult for me to be here, I'm going to show up anyway. And that's the people that are making the difference. Those are the people that are going to win this fight, and it's really a knockdown, drag out fight to the death between good and evil is what we're dealing with here. That's what it really is. It's a fight between good and evil. And you know what? One of our previous speakers, Nettie Chow, said something that was very important. We will win as long as we show up. If we show up and stand up, we'll win. Lavoy Finicum said, it matters how you stand. So where do you stand? All the people that are watching this video, where do you stand? Do you stand with the delusion being painted by the January 6th committee that these were terrorists? I've never seen an insurrection where there were no guns drawn and no police shot and no politicians arrested or taken into custody or hung in the streets. I've never seen an insurrection that didn't involve any violence. So where are all the dead politicians? Where are all the people shot by the insurrectionists? The reason there's nobody shot by the insurrectionists is because it wasn't an insurrection. It was people showing up to protest a grievous assault on their rights. And that's what it was. That's what January 6th was all about. Joe Biden stole the election. That's a fact. All the evidence in the world is out there. You can look at 2,000 Mules for plenty of evidence. plenty of evidence that he stole the election. Okay?
Mike Lindell.
Yeah, Mike Lindell has revealed all kinds of information about the election being stolen. Everybody knows it. Even the January 6th committee knows that they stole the election. Okay? So the people in Washington, D.C. were patriots trying to defend our country. So stand up and stand with them. That's what I have to say. Thanks, folks.
I'd like to.
So John wants to say something also. Hang on.
I'd like everybody to think of you're being asked to do something special here in order to help Edward. You may or may not be able to do that. But what about yourself? What you're witnessing is, and you're being given an advantage. You're witnessing open tyrants. Well, you know, they're planning and have stated so already. New shots, new vaccines,
Pandemic.
new lockdowns.
Scandemic.
Okay.
Pandemic.
So what does that mean? The fight is here and now to you. If you're not active in your local political scene, if you're a voter, if you're a United States citizen, you need to get active in your own interest to protect your family, and in the so doing by putting in candidates that are going to obey the rules and not force you under these draconian measures. So your fight is here right now. What you're witnessing is what they're going to do to you if you don't do that. So don't say that it's not, you don't have the time. You have the time. You've just been given the time. You can see what's going to happen. All you have to do is sit back and let it happen to you, if that's what you want. But you can stop it. All politics is local. You got to get control of your local officials in your counties, and that's up to you right now. There is no more time to wait. Now, I don't know how U.S. citizens get access to constitutional protections, because as a U.S. citizen and a resident, you have no access to the Bill of Rights. So if you're going to operate in that system, the only defense you have is to get involved in your local political area and get candidates in there that are going to protect you and not let it happen like they do every time bad candidates get in there. That means you got to go get in their face. You got to make sure you're properly registered to vote. You've got to get involved in the committees that are in the counties. You've got to go on and you've got to watch the elections. That's what you have to do. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to go to Washington, D.C. You don't have to pay any attention to what's going on down there in Washington, D.C. because your problem is here now. You're just not feeling it yet. When you begin to feel it, it's too late.
As someone once said, and I don't know who it was, but maybe one of you out there does know where this quote comes from. All that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And you know what? The last 3.5 years, I noticed most people do absolutely nothing. They do nothing to protect their rights. They do nothing to protect their kids. They do nothing to speak up against tyranny. And so this is what we get. Honestly, we've earned this. And I hate to put it that way, but we really have. We've earned this by being complacent, by being careless, by letting tyrants take over our government and do all this. So it's time we stand up. We do what Lavoy Finicum said. You know, it matters how you stand. So I'm going to make a stand right now, and I'm going to say, I will never, under any circumstances, get a vaccine, nor will I ever wear a mask. And anybody that tries to force me to get a mask or wear a mask is going to find themselves on the wrong side of either a lawsuit or an action or some protest is going to happen. I don't have much faith in the legal system because of a lot of what you heard today. But I will make sure that anyone that does this to me is going to pay for it, at least in the public relations realm. I'm going to make sure that people know about it. And that means if I walk into Chipotle again and they try to kick me out for not wearing a mask, I'm going to devote my considerable video editing skills to making a video all about Chipotle and what they did and how it violates all our rights, and I'm going to publicize it everywhere. So you may not be afraid of legal action because you probably, being a big corporation owned by BlackRock, you probably have all the big lawyers in your pockets, okay? But that's not the only front in this battle. There's also the public relations front, and in that, we can kick your butts. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna kick your butts. Yeah, so like I said, it's a spiritual battle. It's between good and evil. That's what it is. And I want everyone to realize something. You know, the next time you consider, oh, can I come to that rally, or can I help that person, or do I have time to do this or that or the other thing to save my country or save my kids? If you're asking yourself that question, you've already lost. Because I guarantee you, the bad guys are not taking days off. They're not. They're not taking days off. They're driving hell-bent for the horizon to take over the whole world. That's what they're trying to do. Make no mistake about that. That's what the World Economic Forum is trying to do. They're trying to take over the whole world in a totalitarian nightmare system where they are the emperors and empresses at the top and we're all their slaves. We have nothing, and we have to be happy with that, with having nothing. That's the vision that they have. They've said it publicly. That's what they're trying to do. So just keep that in mind the next time you consider, oh, well, I'm going to just skip that action, or I'm going to skip that meeting, or I'm going to not help that person because I've got to go to the supermarket today. Well, we all have to do things in our daily lives, okay? But just consider what's going to happen if you don't show up, like Nettie Chow said. If you don't show up, guess what? They just walk right in and take it. That's what's going to happen. So thanks everybody for coming today. Appreciate it. We love you all. That's all I got to say. Thanks. Do you want to say something? Yeah. Okay, come on up, Ben. Come on up, Ben. We got one more comment here. Come on.
Take the shades off, man.
No, I'm gonna leave the shades on.
See your eyes.
There you go. Hey, there I am. It's Antifa out there. You doxed me yet, huh? So I just say that, springboard off what Adam's saying, you don't really have to do that much when you're at the store. Just say hi, start talking, and you can multitask. It doesn't have to be a big effort. Just say something, anything. If you say something, you'll feel more accomplished. Try to connect with somebody, talk to your neighbor. Don't, like John's saying, don't worry about what's going on in Washington. Just worry about what's going on in your street. You just knock on your neighbor next door. It's not that hard, and if we all did that, we wouldn't be in this mess. So that's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. All right.
All right, Ben.
You need to join People's Rights. Get involved and get together with your neighbors, because that's where it begins. No one is going to do this for us. It's going to be up to you and me, everyday Americans who love this country, to come together and put a stop to what is happening.